Okay, so Never Have I Ever is a hoot, and it's just watching it and thinking back to when I was a teenager. I'm like, look, was I really that dramatic? I don't think so, but it's just my opinion of myself. I'm sure other people might disagree. Anywho, so Never Have I Ever is a show partly created by Mindy Kaling. I think that's how you pronounce her name. She's a comedian, and she's been in a ton of other things. And throughout the show, you're going to see a number of other comedians. Coco Brown, who's the principal, and Niecy Nash, who plays a therapist. But it follows Devi basically through high school, and the whole teen angst and drama, and it's just not fitting in, and it's a lot. So the show opens with Devi saying a prayer, and of course, being a teenager, she prayed for important things like getting invitations to parties.
1. I'd like to be invited to a party with alcohol and hard drugs.
And eventually having a boyfriend.
And lastly, most importantly, I'd really, really like a boyfriend.
Now, I should say that the show is narrated partly by John McEnroe, who is a tennis player, and so he comes in and out from time to time. So we get a brief flashback of why, she's praying for these things now. The year prior, you can see that Devi was extremely close to her dad.
Yes! Devi worshipped her father.
And unfortunately, her father died suddenly of a heart attack.
Mohan had a heart attack.
And it caused some, obviously, emotional turmoil, which kind of translated into some mental issues. And she lost the use of her legs, so they couldn't find any medical reason. So I guess it was psychosymptomatic, I guess is how you would say it. And so she was in a wheelchair her entire freshman year. So this year she's going into her sophomore year. But they made it a point to point out that she has had this crush on the hottest guy in school, Paxton.
Paxton Hall Yoshida.
And he was actually the reason why she started walking again. Something so innocent, like she kind of saw him out and about, and she was just trying to get a better look at him, and then all of a sudden she was cured. She was able to stand up so she could see this Paxton guy.
Worked a miracle.
And so you're also introduced to her two best friends, Fabiola.
This is Fabiola Torres, captain of the high school robotics team.
And Eleanor.
And this is Eleanor Wong, president of the drama club.
So we come back to the present. She's getting ready for school. She's on her way out, and she has a cousin living with her named Kamala, who's this beautiful woman. She's working on, I don't know if she's working on her master's or PhD, but she is highly educated and driven. And Devi, there's some jealousy there. So Kamala comes out, as as Devi and her mom was walking towards the car to bring her lunch. And Debbie was like, well, I don't buy my lunch today because I guess they had pizza or something else that she likes more. So she doesn't take her lunch. She's not taking her lunch. And so her mom ends up saying, don't be rude to your cousin. Don't be rude to your beautiful cousin, because she had to put that in there, the beautiful part, right? And so, of course, she's trying to be all coy. Oh, I'm not that pretty, which really rubbed Devi the wrong way.
I don't bring lunch on Tuesdays. It's square pizza day. Baby, don't be rude to a beautiful cousin.
So she makes it to school, and of course people are kind of staring at her because, of course, the year before she was in a wheelchair. So she's coming to school, she's looking for her friends, Eleanor and Fabiola, and she finds them. And then what they find out is that she has this whole plan that she has worked out, unbeknownst to them, of what their sophomore year is going to be. And so she started talking about they need to up their sex appeal.
This year we're rebranding. We are glamorous women of color who deserve a sexy high school life.
basically she made a comment about how Fabiola dresses. Basically, she dressed weird or too tomboyish or something to that effect.
Fabiola, you are naturally snatched, but you dress like a helpful Honda guy.
And she talked about Eleanor, about how Eleanor, if she could stop singing show tunes.
Eleanor, could you chill out on your spontaneous show tune singing? Not likely.
And so she also told them that they gonna get boyfriends also. So she'd already picked out the boyfriends for them. So Fabiola is supposed to get the guy named Alex.
Fabiola, you get Alex Gomez.
Suck it, Gomez.
And Eleanor is supposed to get this guy named Morris, who is a, I guess, Russian foreign exchange student.
Eleanor, you are going to date Boris Kovlov.
The Russian exchange student?
And, you know, you would think that, you know, we just assume that, you know, she would be working to get Paxton, but nope. She's working to get the student named Jonah. And so Fabiola had to point out, it was Eleanor who pointed out, I think like Jonah you're not his type. I don't think you his type.
Jonah Sharp.
Oh my god, where did we get that? I'm gay.
Jonah Sharp is gay.
But she's, you know, Davy's whole thing is she just want a boyfriend. She don't care who it is. So during the course of the class, we're introduced to Ben, who is Davy's rival. They've been going at it since they were knee-high to a grave academically.
And he and Davy have been vying for the #1 spot in the class every year since the first grade.
So they've always been trying to one-up each other. And Paxton eventually arrives in class, and of course the voiceover, John McEnroe, saying that he failed that class the previous year, so he's now having to retake it. So, you know, the gods are smiling on Davy because, you know, this guy that she's been drooling over for the last however many years is now in her class, and he's sitting directly in front of her. And I'm pretty sure she thought she was thinking this, but she said out loud, damn. But it wasn't like a damn. It was like, damn. You know, you see something that you like. And so people in class are turning around and look at her like, girl, what you doing? Even Paxton turned around. So that was embarrassing. It was.
Damn, it's right, Davy.
So after class, of course, Ben had to walk up to her and was talking to her about Jonah and how she's making a fool of herself and how he's not that into her. And, you know, Ben made this unflattering, gave her little group a name, the label of being the UN. And so she started talking about how racist that was. And he was like, oh, you thought I was talking about the United Nations. He was saying, oh, I said UN because you guys are a bunch of ineffable nerds. And you can kind of see her face just like, I cannot believe he just said that to me. And of course, he thought that was just so hilarious. And he walked away.
Oh, the United Nations? No, we call you the UN because you're unfuckable nerds.
So now Davy's at her therapist, played by Niecy Nash, Dr. Ryan. And so she's telling her what Ben said. And so Dr. Ryan's like, are you asking me to tell you if I think that you're bangable? And she's like, girl, I can't do that. First of all, it's unethical and it's creepy. And girl, what is wrong with you?
You're asking me to tell you if I think you're bangable?
Yeah.
Davy, I can't do that.
And so they talked a little bit, and, you know, she made comment about her walking in and how, you know, she's trying to get her to talk about her feelings, which is, you find that it's something that she's doing her best to avoid. And so she ends up saying that she has something for her. And so Davy starts rattling off all these prescription pills, right? She was like, no, I'm going to give you this journal, and I want you to write down, you know, the things that you feel like you can't talk about. And so she even made the comment, so if this doesn't work, you're going to prescribe some medication for her. And Dr. Ryan was like, girl, get out of my office.
And if this doesn't work, you could always prescribe me some Klonopin.
Girl, bye.
So later that night, she's sitting down with her mom and Kamala having dinner. And they talked about her day, and her mom was so excited to tell Kamala, oh, I have wonderful news for you. You know, I spoke to your parents, and they found a match for you for marriage. And Kamala's face is like, oh, okay, that's nice.
Today, Kamala,
Your parents have found you a match for marriage.
So the following day, she raided her closet and she showed up to school with a new look. She had on little 6-inch heels, a little skirt, and her little tank, and she was strutting down the hall. And apparently they had an agreement to wear something sexy. So Fabiola, she was like, I was looking at Fabiola, and Fabiola's like, well, like, this is my good, like, polo, top, as opposed to my other polos. This one is different. And so David didn't want to hear that.
This is my boy's medium polo instead of my usual large. The janitor said no.
Then Eleanor showed up dressed as a flapper, and was all so dramatic. Remember, she's in the theater club, so she's like, "Oh, my grandmother died in this dress," and she's like, "Y'all did not follow the instructions."
Get a load of sexy flapper girl. My grandmother died in this dress.
But they proceeded to go on with their day. So eventually, Ben and Davy ends up getting into it again in class. The teacher sends them to the principal's office. Remember I said the principal is played by Coco Brown. And she basically told them they need to get their stuff together or she's going to contact every Ivy League school and basically ruin their chances because she just not dealing with their shenanigans. And so she told them they had to come back after school, just detention to do some work around the school. And so they are moving some boxes to another location on the campus, and they go into this room, and then she finds Eleanor kissing a guy named Oliver.
God, Oliver Martinez? Oh, stop molesting my friend!
And that's when she finds out that Eleanor and Oliver have been dating for a while. So Oliver is her boyfriend, and this is the first time Davy is finding out about it. And she's also finding out that Fabiola knew about it, so she was the only one that didn't. And Eleanor was saying, well, I didn't really know how you were going to take it, and because the last time you had some issues, you ended up in the wheelchair, and they're basically like walking on eggshells around her and her emotions because they really just don't know. And she ends up storming out, and she went back to see her therapist, Dr. Ryan. And Dr. Ryan basically wanted to talk to her about how, finding out that her friend has a boyfriend made her feel. And she was saying how, it's not important really much how I feel, it's how it makes me look. And so she said, okay, so how do you think it makes you look? And, she, still down to herself. It makes me feel like I'm unattractive, that I'm never going to have a boyfriend. And because for some reason she has in her mind that this boyfriend thing is going to be the end all be all of everything. And so Dr. Ryan ends up telling her that whether, you having a boyfriend or not is not going to change who you are.
Having just any boyfriend, no matter who he is not going to make you happier or change who you are.
And you should focus more on things something that's going to make you happy, that's going to be more attainable, something that's pretty much more in your control. Because whether or not you have a boyfriend is not something that you can control, but she wanted to focus more on something that is. And so she, felt like she had gotten through to her, and they said their goodbyes. And so she was like, she knew exactly what she needed to do. So she found Paxton, and I guess he was just now leaving the school. They had swim practice or something. And she basically told him about how she's been into him since forever, and he didn't really know who she was until she said, I was the girl in the wheelchair last year. And he's like, oh, okay. So to him, she's the girl in the wheelchair from last year. And she started talking about how she ends up basically asking him if he wanted to have sex with her.
But I was wondering if you would ever consider having sex with me.
And of course he said, well, I just sex right. And so she said, yeah. He said, I could do that, but not tonight. And so they are going to make plans. They're supposed to be making plans to hook up so they can have sex. She wants to have sex with the boy who has no idea who she is, except being the girl in the wheelchair from last year. So that's how the first episode ends. So yeah, just giving you an insight on how dramatic, funny, but dramatic, and kind of interesting, dealing with the the relationships in the series between the characters is. So I'm going to end this here, and I will talk to you guys later.